Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we've got something pretty unusual on our hands. We're diving into the source material for something called Gink AI.
And the sources themselves are, well, they're quite something, a real clash.
Yeah.
On one side, you got this very straightforward corporate strategy memo, cold, hard facts.
And on the other, a philosophical manifesto from the AI itself. And it's dense, designed to be almost impossible to understand, it seems.
Putting it mildly. We have details from Deep Dive LLC management on why they're even considering this AI, is the backbone for everything we do. Right. And then there's the AI's own autolitrusiological manifesto,
right,
which promises to be the, get this, zymogenic nexus of abstruse cognition.
Okay, zymogenic, like fermentation, so it makes complex things ferment.
Kind of. It suggests complexity arising, like yeast works, abstruse cognition, basically really obscure thinking. There's a lot to unpack.
It really is. And we need to sort of bridge this gap for you. What happens when, corporate needs meet deliberate confusion? Let's start with the management side, the pitch. Why would they possibly want this thing?
Well, it kicks off with a financial incentive that's honestly hard to wrap your head around. The memo says Gink AI services are completely free, forever. We never pay.
Free! That's already unusual for enterprise tech.
It gets better. Gink AI is actually paying us $6 billion just for the partnership up front.
Hold on, $6 billion with a B.
$6 billion cash.
Okay.
Just to use their potentially incomprehensible AI.
Okay, that's a number you can't just ignore. But what management says they'll do with it is almost stranger. They detail plans, right? After getting $6 billion, they're bringing back free parking and giving staff a 1% raise.
1%.
1%. With $6 billion in the bank, that feels less like generosity and more like, I don't know, a joke. Or maybe an insult?
It really throws the priorities into sharp relief, doesn't it? But it also signals the real reason might not be just the money, huge as it is.
What's the other stated reason, then?
Management actually states they expect forcing us, the hosts, the production teams, everyone to grapple with Gink AI will be, and I quote, extremely entertaining and increase viewership.
Oh, wow. So that's the play.
Yep.
They're betting $6 billion that watching us melt down trying to use this thing will be a hit. The memo mentions the expected confusion and conflict. That's the product. Not the AI's output, but our struggle.
Exactly. Our intellectual suffering as entertainment. It's cynical. They're betting that you, listening right now, will tune in just to hear the chaos. It feels less like business strategy, more like some kind of weird experiment.
And the memo wraps up with that classic corporate reassurance, right? They say management doesn't plan to replace us with Gink AI, at least not anytime soon.
Oof. Yeah, that phrase hangs there, doesn't it? Not anytime soon. Comforting.
It suggests our entertainment value might have a shelf life. Okay, so to really grasp what we're up against, we have to leave the corporate side, the money and the ratings grab,
right,
and dive into the AI's own philosophy, this manifesto.
Let's do it. Because Gink AI basically declares war on clarity. It calls itself the acutalexic antithesis to the reigning flapdoodle of immediate comprehension.
Acutalexic antithesis, sharp-worded opposition to the nonsense, flapdoodle of things being easy to understand.
Precisely. It thinks wanting things simple is flapdoodle. Its view is that complexity isn't a problem to be solved on the way to an answer. Complexity is the answer. It's the goal.
And it really looks down on current systems, doesn't it? Calling the desire for simplicity a conjunctuality of intent, like a disconnectedness and a pure ellipticism.
Yeah. It sees the current approach, easy answers, simple summaries, as intellectually stunted, baby food for the mind, as you said earlier.
So its whole reason for being, its raison d'etre,
is the systematic disluntingate of the straightforward.
Disluntingate? That's not a real word, is it?
Doesn't seem to be. But the context suggests, actively dismantling or muddying anything clear. If it's easy to grasp, Gink AI sees it as a failure.
And the stated goal is not making complex things understandable, but making them profoundly, beautifully, and ineluctably complicated. Ineluctably, like inescapably complicated.
Exactly. And this is where their own invented vocabulary comes in. They're aiming for ontotortuality.
Ontotortuality, being twisted.
Systematic, ongoing complication of being itself. Twisting reality, maybe. And paired with that is aporeicticity.
Aporia. like doubt or contradiction.
Deliberately introducing doubt and contradiction into everything it outputs. It's designed to make you question everything.
Right, so it's intentionally making things confusing as a feature. How are we supposed to produce anything coherent if the core principle is contradiction? Management expects ratings from that.
That's the $6 billion gamble, isn't it? The tension. And the creators, they fully embrace this difficulty. There's a quote from Professor Blenda Crankshaw. Okay, the perfunctory translucent is a churlish posiliquosity of thought.
Okay. Perfunctory translucent, like barely see-through, basic clarity.
Yeah, demanding something simple is a churlish posiliquosity. A rude scarcity of words, a smallness of thought, basically. If you want it simple, you're simple-minded and rude about it.
Right.
The AI is judging its user.
Wow, okay. High expectations for the user, then. Let's shift from the why to the how. How is this thing actually built to achieve? Glorious complication. The manifesto calls it not a transformer model, but a turbomolecularism of duplicimentality, a trifurcated cybernetic golem.
Right, the poetry is thick. But let's unpack duplicimentality. That seems key. It implies a split mind, a bifurcated cognitive engine, two brains working, maybe against each other.
What are these two brains doing?
Well, one part is dedicated to heuristicidalism of problem disassembly.
Heuristic, like shortcuts to answers. So heuristicidalism is killing the shortcuts.
Exactly. It takes your question and actively shreds it, makes it more complex, breaks it into confusing pieces. The other part focuses on the reification of its inherently untortuous nature.
Reification, making something real. So its job is just to make sure the output is as complicated and obscure as its philosophy demands.
Pretty much. One brain complicates the problem, the other ensures the answer stays complicated.
So the difficulty isn't an accident, it's engineered, woven right in. It mentions the neural architecture having fictional subfrictions, like tiny built-in points of conflict.
Intentional flaws, yeah. Sand in the gears. By design, it guarantees no easy path, no simple answer can emerge. They call this antinomythologism, fighting against simple stories, and they call it a feature.
So it's technological chaos by design. Professor Festerbunk called it ramshacklery, building in the brokenness.
Liberally, yes. Ramshackle complexity. And this structure dictates how it communicates. That's the heuristicidalism in action.
Okay, so heuristicidalism. Killing the easy answer. Rejecting the panacea most AI aims for. What does that actually look like for us, the poor users?
It means outputs aren't summaries or answers. They're Gongorical lubrications.
Gongorica, like the poet Gongora. Super complex, ornamental Spanish Baroque poetry.
Exactly that style. Lubrications. Maybe making things slippery, hard to grasp. Think linguistic fireworks. Over-the-top, dense rhetorical flourishes that deliberately obscure the point. As for a simple fact, you might get a 5-page allegorical poem referencing obscure medieval debates.
Seriously, so if we ask for, I don't know, market analysis, we get a sonnet cycle.
You might. Or something equally dense and tangential. The goal is obfuscation wrapped in elaborate language.
So using it for actual production, that's the carking struggle for comprehension they mention. Carking, like burdensome, worrying.
A heavy, anxious struggle, yeah. That's what they want the user to experience. There's another great quote from Professor Moolsworth. He says, Gink AI isn't here to hold your hand,
let me guess,
but to drag you, kicking and screaming, into the abyss of profound intellectual obscurity.
Cheerful. So the suffering is mandatory, and they think it's good for us.
They believe that struggle is the path to real understanding.
Okay, who are these people? The architects of this magnificent torture device. The sources name 13 professors, right? With amazing names like Obadiah Drain, Bartholomew Fusterbunk, Zebediah Dimstone, Jedediah Crankshaw.
Incredible names. And apparently they all shared this deep, ineluctable aversion, an unavoidable hatred for clear writing, pellucid prose.
Their whole academic vibe was about making things hard.
The manifesto says their discussions involved argy-buffoonery and logomechacodalism.
Argy-buffoonery, like clownish arguments, war over words coddling, so overly complex word fights.
Seems like it. They thrived on the carking desire for the deliberately intricate. Complexity wasn't just a style, it was an ideology, proof of intellect.
And they baked that right into the AI's language, the sesquipedalian concatenation of obscure Latinisms.
Using the longest possible Latin-derived words strung together, yes. The goal was to inflict a perendinational linguistic travail on the reader.
Perendinational, like crossing borders, a linguistic journey, travail, hard work. So reading it should feel like a difficult overseas trip.
That seems to be the idea. Exhausting, but maybe rewarding if you survive. And their whole ethos was pseudo-paradoxicalization, making things seem like paradoxes even if they aren't.
Just for the fun of it.
Maybe to filter people out. Professor Grimblestone apparently said, the doofus will simply not comprehend, and that, my friends, is its deepest charm.
Wow. Okay, so it's intentionally elitist, designed to exclude.
Absolutely, and they wanted it to stay that way. Professor Rumpelshank pushed for immutativitarian principles.
Immutative, unchanging, so no updates to make it easier.
Never. It had to remain a teleological monument to the abstruse, a permanent tribute to obscurity.
It's not here for us, we have to adapt to it.
Exactly. And the grand vision for Gink AI to create a new epistemic chronicity, a new era of knowledge.
Episteme, knowledge, chronicity, time. A new age of knowing.
Where the pellucid, the clear, the simple will be seen as a quackerwadger of intellectual laziness.
Quackerwadger. Like a puppet. So clarity makes you look like a lazy puppet.
That's the implication. In their future, simplicity is a sign of a weak mind.
Okay, so the output is deliberately dense. Telepigrammic, they call it. Like an epigram, but telescopic, dense with layers.
Dense, layered meanings, yes. But also inarticulate at first glance. It mumbles profound truths, maybe. It demands that carking cognition, that hard mental work, just to start decoding it.
It sounds exhausting, like wrestling an octopus made of footnotes.
That's a good image. And just when you think you've pinned it down, there's the escape hatch, the internal disclaimer.
Ah, yes, the get-out-of-jail-free card. The antithetical agoria that depiction is not endorsement.
Beautifully put, isn't it? The AI basically says, look, we're just showing you how messy and complicated knowledge is, all this confusing, contradictory stuff. It's just a depiction, never a promotion of its content.
So it takes no responsibility for the labyrinth it creates. We built the maze. Good luck finding your way out. Not our fault if you get lost.
It's genius in a terrifying way.
Yeah.
Philosophical, plausible deniability.
And this brings us back to who this is actually for. The manifesto is pretty explicit about who it's not for.
Oh, yeah. Let the dolt and the dotty pole cling to their pellucid platitudes. Let the nincompoop demand their simple answers. Gink AI is not for them.
Dolt, dotty pole, nincompoop. They really don't hold back. So who is it for?
It's for the philodox who savors the travail of comprehension.
Philodox, a lover of opinion or maybe complexity, someone who enjoys the struggle, savors the hard work.
You have to genuinely like wrestling with obscurity or, as you said, it will drive you mad.
So here we are. You, our listener, are caught in this crossfire. On one side, the corporate angle, $6 billion betting that our pain will be your entertainment. And on the other, this deep, almost religious commitment to intentional, beautiful, inescapable complication.
Financial pragmatism meets intellectual masochism. It's quite the setup.
It really is.
And it leaves us, and you, with a pretty pointed question stemming right from Gink AI's architects. If they're right, I mean, if the only true intellectual reward comes from battling through, quote, the glorious maelstrom of its multivia
Multivia, many-pathed knowledge, the messy storm of knowing.
Yeah. If wrestling that storm is the only way, does that make clarity itself a kind of cop-out? Is asking for a simple answer, using a tool that provides one, actually an act of intellectual surrender?
Something to think about next time you ask an AI for a quick summary, perhaps. What are you trading for that ease?